In the year 2242, the dream of a united Mars shattered. What began as a collaborative effort to terraform the red planet has devolved into a bitter struggle for its soul. This is the story of the battle for Mars, a war fought not between nations of Earth, but between the fledgling colonies that now call Mars home. It's a conflict over resources, ideology, and the very future of humanity beyond its cradle. For decades, the major colonies, Ares Prime, Nova Alexandria, and the Mariner Valley conglomerate worked in concert. Ares Prime, founded by a coalition of North American and European space agencies, was the technological heart of Mars, its engineers and scientists pioneering the atmospheric processors that were slowly making the planet breathable. Nova Alexandria, nestled in the Hellas Planitia basin, was the agricultural powerhouse, its vast biodomes feeding the entire Martian population. And the Mariner Valley conglomerate, a sprawling network of mining outposts, controlled the planet's most valuable mineral resources, from rare metals to the ice-locked deep beneath the Valles Marineris. The first crack in this fragile unity appeared over water. As the population grew, the demand for water skyrocketed. The conglomerate, controlling the largest ice deposits, began to leverage its position, imposing steep tariffs on water shipments to the other colonies. They argued it was fair compensation for their dangerous and resource-intensive mining operations. Ares Prime and Nova Alexandria saw it as extortion. Tensions simmered, diplomatic channels frayed, and the once cooperative spirit of Martian colonization began to sour. The ideological rift deepened the divide. Ares Prime championed a centralized, technologically driven governance model, believing a single, unified authority was essential for the survival and progress of Mars. They envisioned a planet-wide government, led by a council of experts. On the other hand, the Mariner Valley conglomerate, built by rugged individualists and corporate pioneers, fiercely advocated for autonomy and a free market system. They believed each colony should be a sovereign state, free to trade and govern as it saw fit. Nova Alexandria, caught in the middle, simply wanted peace and the stability needed to keep its farms productive. But its reliance on both technology from Ares Prime and resources from the conglomerate made neutrality impossible. The breaking point, the moment diplomacy failed and weapons were raised, is now known as the Day of Red Water. A dispute over a newly discovered ice aquifer in the Thaumasia region escalated. The conglomerate dispatched armed security drones to secure the site. Ares Prime, seeing this as an illegal land grab, responded by deploying its own advanced military units, the first generation of Martian-born soldiers, trained in low-gravity combat. The first shots were fired not by men, but by machines. High-energy lasers crisscrossed the thin Martian atmosphere as drones clashed above the rust-colored plains. The battle was swift and brutal. The conglomerate's rugged but less sophisticated security drones were no match for Ares Prime's state-of-the-art military hardware. The aquifer was secured by Ares forces, but the victory came at a terrible cost. The conflict had begun. In the weeks that followed, the war escalated dramatically. Nova Alexandria, its trade routes cut off and facing pressure from both sides, reluctantly allied with Ares Prime, hoping their combined strength could force a quick end to the fighting. This alliance formally divided Mars into two factions, the Alliance of Ares and Alexandria and the Mariner Valley conglomerate. The war on Mars was unlike any conflict in human history. It wasn't fought in trenches or jungles, but across vast, airless deserts, within pressurized biodomes, and in the cold vacuum of orbit. The soldiers wore advanced combat exoskeletons, allowing them to leap great distances in the low gravity, their movements more like a deadly ballet than a traditional infantry charge. Orbital platforms became the new high ground, capable of delivering devastating kinetic strikes on ground targets. Sabotage became a key tactic. A single breach in a dome's hull, or a virus in a life support system could be more destructive than an entire battalion. The Mariner Valley conglomerate, despite its technological inferiority, proved to be a formidable opponent. Its fighters were masters of guerrilla warfare. They knew the canyons and lava tubes of the Valles Marineris like the back of their hands. They used the terrain to their advantage, staging hit-and-run attacks on Alliance supply convoys and remote outposts. Their most feared units were the tunnel rats, miners turned soldiers who could navigate the labyrinthine underground networks to strike deep behind enemy lines. They sabotaged water pipelines and disrupted power grids, waging a war of attrition against the larger, more centralized alliance. Ares Prime, in response, unleashed its technological might. They deployed autonomous hunter tanks that could patrol the Martian surface for weeks on end, and their orbital surveillance network could track almost any movement on the planet. The skies above the Mariner Valley became a no-fly zone, patrolled by Alliance interceptors. They laid siege to the major conglomerate mining cities, cutting them off from the outside world and hoping to starve them into submission. The human cost was immense. For the first time, people born on Mars were killing other people born on Mars. The shared dream of a new home had become a nightmare. Families were torn apart, friendships shattered by allegiance. The once bustling city of Nova Alexandria became a fortified military camp, its citizens living under martial law. The psychological toll was heavy. The constant threat of dome breaches, the scarcity of resources, and the knowledge that the person you were fighting was someone you might have once called a neighbor wore down the morale of both sides. A pivotal moment in the war came with the battle for Olympus Mons. The dormant volcano was home to Ares Prime's most advanced research facility, including the primary controls for the planet-wide atmospheric processors. The conglomerate, in a desperate gamble, launched a daring assault to capture the facility. They believed that by controlling the air itself, they could force the Alliance to the negotiating table. The assault was a masterpiece of covert operations. Conglomerate forces used a network of ancient lava tubes to bypass Alliance defenses and emerge at the base of the volcano. The battle that ensued was ferocious. Alliance soldiers in their gleaming white exoskeletons fought desperately to defend the facility against the rugged, red-dusted armor of the conglomerate troops. The fighting raged for 3 days, from the slopes of the giant volcano to the sterile corridors of the research labs. In the end, the Alliance held. The conglomerate's assault was repelled, but it came at a staggering cost in lives and equipment. The battle showed the Alliance that the conglomerate would stop at nothing to win, and it showed the conglomerate that even their boldest plans could fail. The war had reached a bloody stalemate. Both sides were exhausted, their resources depleted, their populations weary of conflict. It was at this point that a new, unexpected voice emerged. The scientists and civilians within Nova Alexandria, who had been largely sidelined during the conflict, began a planet-wide movement for peace. Using old, unsecured communication channels, they broadcasted messages of unity, reminding everyone of the original dream. They organized work stoppages and peaceful protests, disrupting the war effort on both sides. The message was simple. Mars is our only home. We must not destroy it. We are not Alliance or conglomerate. We are Martians. This grassroots movement, dubbed the Unity Uprising, spread like wildfire. Soldiers on both sides began questioning their orders. In a now famous incident, an Alliance platoon and a conglomerate scouting party, encountering each other in a remote canyon, laid down their arms and shared their water rations instead of opening fire. The tide was turning, not on the battlefield, but in the hearts and minds of the Martian people. Faced with growing internal dissent and the collapse of their army's morale, the leaders of the Alliance and the conglomerate had no choice but to call a ceasefire. They met on neutral ground, in the battered but still standing city of Nova Alexandria, the very place that had been caught in the crossfire. The negotiations were tense and difficult, but the will of the people was undeniable. The battle for Mars officially ended with the signing of the Alexandria Accords. It established a new, decentralized Martian Council with equal representation from all major colonies. Resources like water and minerals were declared the common heritage of all Martians to be managed by an independent body. A unified Martian civil guard was formed to replace the colonial armies, its sole purpose to protect all colonists, not to wage war. The scars of the war run deep. The craters from orbital strikes still pockmark the landscape, and the memorial walls in every city bear thousands of names. But out of the ashes of conflict, a new Martian identity was forged. They were no longer colonists from Earth, defined by old national and corporate loyalties. They were Martians, a new branch of humanity, united by the red dust under their feet, and the shared experience of having built a world, nearly lost it, and finally reclaimed it for themselves. The battle for Mars was a tragic but necessary chapter in their history, a painful lesson that taught them that the future could not be won through war, but must be built together. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by the potential futures of humanity in space, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into science fiction and speculative history. See you next time.